Okay, so um now I'm going to go line by line and I'm going to start with the first line. The first line were baby, I'm a survivor. Then this line, straight from the beginning, this line got me straight away because of the way it was constructed, but also because it's such a contrast right away to the musical opening of the song. The slow, gentle rhythm that makes you feel like you're cloud watching on a super beautiful day where you can feel the grass underneath you and all that clear air passing right through your skeletal system. And the daylight is just right, not too dim, um, and not too bright, just soft on the eyes and on the heart. And you feel this calm with yourself, with nature, with the world. Clouds drift and wind passes by, and everything is calm. And in all that calmness, the word war appears, and it's so unexpected. Whether you just listen or you listen and you also follow the lyrics in text form, you see the word war, and it doesn't register in the beginning because your head swims on that sweetness of the guitar, going so gentle, and um, softness and dream kind of whisked you away. And then war. First word of the first line, war. Straightforward, simple, existing, undeniable. War. And you're pulled back to the ground as the listener because it got your attention straight away. And because you realize you need to pay close attention because, war is mentioned. And I love how, with the word war and the comma that follows, um, I'm thinking about the narrator and I'm thinking about how it feels like. Um, because it's like there's two characters in the song, there's the narrator and there's war, because it feels like the narrator addresses war um, in a way. It's like he's talking to it directly and telling it things about itself and about him, like how you would address a person in writing with the person's name followed by a comma. Um, and these like big epic books where the city or the town is a very important character. Um, I read this book when I was in high school. It was about this couple and they were living together. They were married. Um, and there were all these beautiful passages about her looking after him and his quiet gentleness. He was very thoughtful with her and very attentive, but with all of her looking after him and making sure he had everything he needed, and him doting on her and knowing her character by heart, there was no love there. It was routine and it was everyday life, but heart was missing, and he could feel it, and she could feel it, and all this story was happening with this big ancient city in the background. The city was described down to the last detail on every single scene. It was the old university hallways where they stood talking on a day where the rain comes down real soft on the balcony. And it was the alleyways in the afternoon haze when they were walking home together, with her respectively silent by his side, and the air smelling like bread and marketplace. It was there with its stars past midnight and the jackals howling at the moon when they would get ready for bed, and it was their eavesdropping when she was dreaming in her bed while he was away at work, wishing for someone else and loving someone else. And I remember how surprised I was when I read like the literary analysis of the book, and it said that the old city was actually the main character of the book all along, and the characters of the couple were supposed to represent the newer, younger generation that feels detached from the city and from that place and all of its customs and history, turning a cold heart towards the city and its older generations and all of its legacy. And that's why it made me think of this book. I feel like war um, is there all throughout the song as a character, um, both in the instrumental part and also mentioned in the lyrics. Um, it's just my interpretation, that your music always makes me come up with a million thoughts because your writing always gets me to analyze, and it keeps my brain pulling in clues and piecing beats together. Um, this is why I felt like the narrator could be addressing war itself and calling it by name and not being afraid to say it, because religions battling each other, ideologies clashing, morals, practices, one denying the other, contradicting the other, it goes beyond words and thoughts and translates into action. The Crusades, for example, the Ottoman invasion, religious ideologies that grew sword and spiked carriage and sprayed blood on cobblestones and sand and across the river. And we know what happened. We know it happened not that long ago, and we know that if lightning hit a certain tree, it will hit it again and again in the span of months until it will char it down to the root. Um, and we know these things happen, they're cyclical. We just can't predict where or when. And this is why I'm thinking about this song, and I'm gonna look at it from all these directions where, like, an actual physical war, an ideological war, and a war of like inside the narrator, like an inner war where he kind of fights against the influence of religion, where he tries to assess its importance in his life and how much he's going to let it guide him through life and how much he will let it affect him, like three possible directions. And him possibly addressing war itself as if it were a person, calling it by name every single time, because he's saying it four times in the first verse. He starts every sentence with it. It gives you this feeling like they are facing off and standing face to face, and with every line, he tells war something new about its effect on him and the true nature of war. And it's so beautiful because you have him, he's human, his breath and his heartbeat and his calendar dates and gravity, his flesh and bone and voice, and he's standing there in front of this thing, this big thing that needs points and definitions to explain this formless mass full of swords in a whirl, like bone detaching from bone, the sizzle of gunpowder, the slash of the blade, forests and trenches, and the sound smoke makes when it passes by the clothes of the deceased. And it's looming and it's limitless, like a dark chasm or the skies in reverse.